What's the impact that MGM Casino in Springfield is having on the community? Well, an advisory committee will soon be sharing its thoughts on that matter. A group meant to provide non-binding recommendations to MGM and the city regarding casino matters affecting Springfield and its residents is taking shape, with both the city council and mayor announcing who they've tapped for the role. I spoke with Springfield City Councilor Orlando Ramos and Daniel Morrissey, one of the council's appointees, to find out more.
So I'm from Springfield, raised my family here, and Orlando reached out to me. He was looking for people to participate, and obviously I try to, willing to participate in whatever I can that helps the community out, and this just seems like another opportunity to do that, to work with other members of the community, with Councilor Ramos, and obviously we have this big investment in Springfield, which is MGM, so I'm just really excited about it.
Great. So, Councilor, for the City Council's part, you got to tap 3 local residents to participate in this 11-member panel. And the other 2 who are part from the City Council is Vanessa Otero, the CEO of Partners for Community and Affiliates, and Johnny Ray McKnight, who's the operations manager for People Ready Skilled Trades. What were you thinking with these 3 individuals overall? Were you trying to target a certain sector, or what was the council's thought?
Well, I think it's important to have some different forms of diversity on these different boards that we have, particularly when it comes to this MGM Community Advisory Committee. This is the largest economic development project in the history of Western Massachusetts. We have a revenue sharing partnership with MGM in the city of Springfield, and so we want to make sure that we get it right, and that includes having diversity. In terms of folks who live across different neighborhoods in the city of Springfield, different backgrounds, different ethnicities. Attorney Morrissey brings a unique perspective as a lawyer, and the other folks have professional development and community development, workforce development experience that they can bring to this committee. And so that was an important factor in deciding which folks to appoint.
And so in terms of what the commission overall is charged with doing, it's non-binding, but it is in the form of recommendation that can be given to MGM leadership on behalf of the city overall. Mm-hmm. Thoughts at this point? I mean, I know that the commission itself is still being formed, and we'll talk about that a little later, but thoughts on what type of information you will be passing along to MGM?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my understanding is that we have a host agreement, and so we want to, make sure that the community has an opportunity to give input, and that we, as at least as the choices of Councilor Ramos, want to make sure that we not only read the host agreement, that we listen to community input, and that we listen to all sides, so that we can give whatever our recommendations are. We understand that it's non-binding, but I think it's still an important piece of this whole project. That it has been. What is MGM coming here?
Mm-hmm. And I know as the host agreement was being drafted, among the things that were laid in there, obviously the monetary agreement between the city and MGM, but also I think of interest for the general population is the way that jobs were broken down, the way that hiring rolled out. Are you happy so far with the way that MGM has adhered to that hosted agreement in terms of hiring local people?
Oh, absolutely. MGM has exceeded their expectation and the numbers that were required under the ACA. One of the things that I continue to remind people is that MGM Springfield is a private entity. A lot of people have this sort of vision that because they have such a public campaign and because we have a host community agreement that we somehow, that MGM is a part of the city or part of government. When it's not. It's a private entity, just like Mass Mutual, just like Bay State Medical, just like Smith & Wesson, just to name some of the other larger employers in the city of Springfield. What makes this partnership unique is the host community agreement and the fact that we have a revenue sharing partnership, whereas the more money that MGM makes, the more revenue the city of Springfield receives. And as part of this host community agreement is this community advisory committee. And just to give you a little bit more specific examples as to some of the ideas and concerns that will be brought forward to this committee, the idea behind it is that there will be, and there more than likely will be, issues and concerns that may not necessarily arise to the level of government intervention and may not be necessary for the city council to take up. But some of those concerns can be brought to the Community Advisory Committee for their recommendations.
So, looking at the other members of the commission, the mayor has appointed his 3 folks. He appointed Leo Florian, who's the president of the South End Citizens Council, Jose Claudio, who's the CEO for the new North Citizens Council, and Denise Jordan, former chief of staff for the mayor, but also now head of Springfield Housing. So, looking at that perspective, that to me seems to really be the boots on the ground, people's perspective, and a wide range of city folks. And then in terms of the other folks who will be added to this commission, MGM gets a say, and the Latino Chamber of Commerce has a say. Thoughts on how to broaden what you've already started here, types of sectors, individual groups you'd like to see represented?
Broader, I think, is just even better. So we've already got a lot of diversity from the councilors' picks, also from the mayor's picks, who are really exciting people to work with. And just the mere fact that someone's going to be chosen by the Latino Chamber, they have diversity as, I believe, one of their values. And so I think that the broader the better in that sense. The more diverse, the better, I should say.
I think in the rollout, in the lead up to the casino, we heard some concerns again and again. There were concerns that, okay, we're bringing a gambling establishment to downtown Springfield. Could we be encouraging people to trade one vice for another or to start a gambling habit that they didn't previously have? Concerns about crime. There was a lot of negative concern, I think, in the lead up to the casino. But since the casino's opened, I haven't heard as much of that. What have you been hearing from constituents about the casino being here in downtown Springfield so far?
So far, the feedback has been very positive. Folks are very happy with the way that MGM rolled out the casino. They're happy with the way that it's been operating since. And they're happy with the fact that they've been meeting their quotas and their promises to the city of Springfield. We shared the same concerns. Originally, I was not a proponent of the casino, but I was sold in the idea of having MGM Springfield in our city because of their presentation to us. And so I'm glad that years later we're here seeing it come to fruition, and it's been beneficial to our city.
And you said yourself, you grew up in Springfield. How has the city changed since MGM?
As someone who's been here, lifelong resident, I also was probably on the same side, not necessarily a proponent in the beginning, but really have welcomed it with open arms. I mean, it has seemed at least to just benefit the community. People are excited about it, and there's additional investment around it. People want to go downtown. People want to open up businesses. So I think overall, whether it's being a part of this committee or what MGM is bringing to the city, it's been really exciting, and just look to the future.
To that point about business, another one of those concerns was that the casino would siphon business from the supportive community businesses, whether it's Red Rose Pizza or any of the other long-standing businesses that have been in the community for years and years. Again, when we went out after the casino opened in the immediate kind of weeks and months, that didn't necessarily seem to be the case. But are you hearing differently now?
No, it's the opposite. It's been great for the surrounding businesses. We've already started to see spinoffs from the casino. We're starting to see new investments from companies and investors that would not have otherwise come to the city of Springfield. And so it's been the opposite. I
think really think that they wouldn't have come here were it not for MGM being in the downtown?
Absolutely. We've seen petitioners come before the city council petitioning for a special permit who have just said it outright. We wouldn't be asking for the special permit to open up our business had it not been for MGM Springfield.